I work on large-scale figurative paintings. The images are quite dramatic. I usually sort of focus on using either a single light source, either natural light or artificial light. They're quite moody and quite powerful. There's sometimes a sense of unease or mystery. Drawing underpins a huge amount and a vast array of artistic practices. It's important for me as a figurative painter, but it's just as important for people working in installation and abstract expressionism. It really is a sort of foundation of most artistic endeavours. It's also, I start everything quite loosely and drawn, and from there I then build up the surfaces and refine the image till you get the quite resolved and finished realistic image. Willow charcoal is obviously, it's a burnt wood. You can see here when you smudge it, it's a really lovely soft mark. And one of the things you want to do is to hold the charcoal sort of like this, so it's loosely resting in your hand. And you're drawing, when we're drawing, we really want to draw from a shoulder, not the wrist, but even then we still want more. If you're doing it in this way, you can see the lack of movement in my hand. Whereas when I draw like this, there's a lot more movement generated by my body in terms of in making that mark. So that's something to think about and make sure, you know, decent sized piece of charcoal helps. This is my wonderful studio. For me, the lighting's really important, having lots of lovely natural light. The exercise we're going to be doing today is something that works on hand-eye coordination and looking at gesture mark, the language of the mark, and really sort of building up the trust and confidence in yourself and your drawing ability. Okay, so I'm going to do a series of warm-up sketches. This is important for me to get my hand-eye coordination in. I'm just using the willow charcoal because it's loose and firm. What I'm trying to do is find the axes of the body. This is not about perfect drawings. This is literally trying to get the feel and explain, you know, where the weight is going through his body, looking for the axes. I say you've got the key axis of the hips, the shoulders and the spine. Once we find these things, it's very easy to find the rest of the form. So you're looking for the kind of the balance of the figure, and I guess we're getting to kind of distill the pose, so to speak, with our drawing. Quite often I like to say to people, you know, when they're looking at the model, think about the pose. Where is the weight of the model going down? Is it going down the leg or is it leaning forward? Can you feel it in your own body through your hips, and sort of almost try and feel the pose yourself. So I'm imagining the twist of the spine, I'm imagining the rib cage, and I'm thinking about the negative space while I'm trying to do this, as well as I'm letting my charcoal move the whole time. It's kind of searching for the lines. Make sure you're drawing with your shoulder. You want to be able to see sort of my body moving as I'm trying to, you know, the sweep of the curve of the spine or the strength of that pose, the line down. Things to think about are the weight of the pencil, so the weight of the mark, how much pressure you put on the pencil. Is it light? When you draw, it should be like music, you know, it's not all one note or one, you know, you want soft areas and stronger areas. You want the kind of the line to sort of trickle around the page and kind of, you know, lead the eye around, but play and have a variation in its form. Okay, so I'm going to do a series of sequential drawings now, which is basically building on what we've done with our quick sketches, our warm-ups. So these poses will be 5 poses of the moving form. So I'm just keeping that pencil on the page, trying to let it just search out the form. But basically I'll be taking a still and drawing sequentially. So I'll be drawing on top of the previous drawings, which will give the feeling of movement and of the figure moving through the page. So we're looking really at more of a linear contour here. So we're not really describing the body with tone. So what I'm trying to do is I'm really looking for a contour, so I'm looking for the outlines. As much as I'm looking for the essence, I'm also trying to sort of imagine that internal structure of the body. Having a kind of a knowledge of the skeleton is really important in sort of life drawing. It's because you need to imagine those bones. They're kind of the bones of the drawing underneath, and then you're fleshing it out. So what I'm doing here is just sort of looking, imagining that form underneath the skin and the muscle, and then sort of finding these contours. So things like negative space is something that I take into account. It sort of automatic, it becomes quite automatic, that feeling of sort of looking for those shapes. You know, so you're looking here with the hand and the body. So this shape here between the head and the arm is really important to get that sort of feeling. Okay, change. So there's no right or wrong mark. You can have as many marks as you like to kind of build that form up. It's about trying to sort of capture that feeling of that movement. And when we layer them up, you do get quite a sort of three-dimensional feel. Matisse says, drawing is like an expressive gesture with the advantage of permanence. And that's a really wonderful thing, because it's like when you have a conversation. I'm one of those people who talks with my hand, you know. The conversation is with the paper and the marks, and it's not about overthinking, but it really is something that can be learned by applying oneself. Hand-eye coordination is something that you can improve through practice and drawing.